state regime media known as Fox was panicking on live TV after Donald Trump's stunning admission that, yes, he was behind the termination of Jimmy Kimmel, and he's going to go after The View next. And if you make jokes about Donald Trump, you don't deserve a license. That's literally what Donald Trump said on Air Force One. I want you to watch as state regime media known as Fox tries to cover up for him after that admission. So they have Brian Kilmeade, the guy who literally declared on TV that we should all execute homeless people, involuntarily euthanize them. He said that on TV. Now he's the guy that Fox has saying that Kimmel's comments went too far. Are you kidding me? Here, play this clip.
The point is that Kimmel's comments went way too far for some television executives. Not for me, not for you, but for them. And they turned up the heat on Kimmel, the host, to calm down the rhetoric.
That's the guy they have. By the way, what was Kimmel's comments that went far at all? Kimmel said nothing wrong at all, period, full stop. I've analyzed that a ton. You can watch some of my other videos about that. Next, though, I want to show you the Fox state regime propagandist, Harrison Faulkner. And here she says, look, when you do this speech, it comes with expectations to have integrity with your speech. Y'all are Fox. What are you talking about? You had to settle a defamation suit for nearly $1 billion because you lied about the 2020 election knowingly and maliciously. Here, play this clip.
Well, and it's more speech, not less speech. I mean, you often hear me say that. It's because that's really what we want. We want an open market for speech. But speech comes with more than responsibility, more than accountability. It comes with the expectation that we'll have integrity when we use our speech. And so there should be consequences that are appropriate, for the people who are affected by it. Like, you can't put the public in danger with your words. You can't incite things after an assassination. You can't vilify one side if it's not true, like those types of things. But where we are right now is, I think, in a perilous position too. I don't want us to say that we can just shut each other down without some thought about that. But the FCC has kind of backed out of its role. It hasn't really been enforcing things the way that it had been when it was first in position to do so. That's one. And the other really is ABC only flexed. His ratings are down. CBS, this isn't their first rodeo. Remember the Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson thing? They've learned some lessons with the broadcast side. You remember the wardrobe malfunction? So they know that this can cost money in the end. So I've been saying, look, they knew who they hired. Eventually he was going to step on a nail in the sidewalk and it was going to be bad. That's who he is on the air. I mean, he's lost his funny.
Then they have the former press secretary to George W. Bush, Ari Fleischer. He comes on and he goes, you know what? The way Donald Trump is sending the military into cities and taking over cities with military force, the way he's bringing troops there, I wish that we could do the same things with schools. And we can send the military into schools and take over schools in states. What? Here, play this clip.
Excuse to fail. I mean, that's exactly what you heard here from Randy Weingarten. And this has been, unfortunately, for too many teachers, not all. There are wonderful teachers out there. But the teachers union has really led a movement in America to reward themselves and not focus on the basics for the kids. Now, in many instances, it's because a lot of kids just don't have parents who are involved in their educations. And it's very hard in a lot of places when you're just fighting to struggle to make a living, to be able to spend the time with your children to help them with the basics that they need in life. So there's so much going on here that has been a long-standing problem. But I wish that we had the ability, like President Trump is doing on the federal level, to send in the troops to fight crime. Can something like that be done on the school level? What can be done to fix these schools that are fundamentally, perpetually failing the same group of kids? We need takeovers of these places in addition to school choice.
That's an incredible answer to this. I have not heard anybody say that.
Then they bring on the MAGA Republican Congress member, Jason Smith. And Jason Smith says, it's Democrats who want the shutdown because, he says, Democrats are trying to bail out the health insurance companies. That's what y'all are going with? You all control all of the branches of government and the judiciary. You control the House, you control the Senate, you control the executive branch, you control the courts at this point. What Democrats have said is that they want to make sure that people on Affordable Care Act plans don't have their premiums raised in the next few weeks by like 60% or 70% and basically pay double as the ACA tax credits are set to expire. That's what Democrats have said. But sure, turn this into somehow bailing out insurance companies. What are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
We'll pass the government funding out of the House of Representatives this week, send it over to the Senate, and we'll see. This is the same funding bill. The CR is the same funding bill of what Biden had that Schumer voted for and Senate Democrats voted for just 4 to 5 months ago. For them to shut down government because they want to bail out health insurers, I don't believe that that's going to set well with the American people.
And you know, folks, it wasn't enough for the MAGA Republicans to attack Medicaid and Medicare. They're going after the Affordable Care Act plans as well that most people are on. Next, you have propagandist Jesse Waters say, you know what? What's going on with Jimmy Kimmel? That's what happens in showbiz. You know, if you say obnoxious things, racist things, unethical things, that's what happens to you. Are you describing yourself, Jesse Waters? And let me be very clear, Jimmy Kimmel did not say obnoxious things, racist things, sexist things, untrue things, unethical things. You know who said those things? Charlie Kirk, when he was alive, said those things over and over again. And Kimmel didn't even bring that up. Kimmel's social media posts were, we need to bring down the temperature and come together. And then what he said on TV was that MAGA was trying to blame everyone other than, themselves. There's nothing wrong with what he said. But here, play this clip of Jesse Waters doing the ultimate projection and confession. Play this clip.
They suspend a lot of people. A lot of people in this business get suspended when we say obnoxious things, racist, sexist, untrue things, unethical things. It's a high wire act. And sometimes we screw up, and he screwed up, so he got benched. Big deal. Sometimes the networks get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong. Sometimes they go too far, and sometimes they don't go far enough.
Then you have Rob Schneider. Man, I strongly regret my childhood watching this guy in various movies. You have Rob Schneider, who was once claiming to be, I'm a free speech absolutist. Just think about how petty and weak and a loser this guy is. He attacks Jimmy Kimmel and he goes, when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest like Jimmy Kimmel did the other night. What are you, Brendan Carr? You're like a government bureaucrat now, Rob Schneider? A fascist, I should say, a fascist government bureaucrat? That's what you're doing? What are you even talking about? What did he lie about? What did he say that was even untrue or remotely untrue? Here, play this clip. Pathetic. Play this clip.
Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix. This isn't cable. This is broadcast TV. And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public. And to get that license, you have to be in the interest, like you said, of the public. And so that's why when there's a news van parked in the white zone, they don't get a ticket because they are there to present news, to inform the public in the public interest. So what happens is 25% originally was supposed to be the news to inform it, just to get that license. So when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest, like Jimmy Kimmel did the other night. Right. Mislead and lie, and actually was something dangerous. So with the FCC chairman, he didn't say that he was going to pull the license. He was going to give them a warning and ask for an apology, if what I understood on the Benny Johnson show. And so that's not the government doing it. And when 246 different stations around the country say we're no longer airing this, it's because they heard from their consumers. They heard from their customers. And they said, that's it. We're not doing it. And so Nexstar, who's a great guy over there, Sean Compton said, that's it. He's the CEO and said, when we have complaints like this and none of the channels, 246, because I'm sorry, it's not just LA and New York. There are people in between who have a real sense of decency.
Scientists are fighting back against the Trump administration's attack on our climate. Let me interrupt Ben for a quick minute to fill you in. More than 85 scientists from around the world have released a blistering rebuttal to a recent U.S. Department of Energy report that downplayed the threat of climate change. The DOE review commissioned under the Trump administration in July argued that climate change is, quote, less damaging economically than commonly believed. But scientists say the report is riddled with cherry-picked data, misquotes, and outright errors, and was written conveniently by a hand-picked team of 5 authors who reject the overwhelming scientific consensus. Quote, this report makes a mockery of science, said Dr. Andrew Dessler, one of the experts behind the 500-page rebuttal. He accused the DOE of misrepresenting research, relying on anecdotes, and ignoring established facts. Among the flaws, the DOE actually claimed that rising carbon dioxide could be a net benefit for U.S. agriculture without mentioning how extreme heat is devastating crops. It also dismissed evidence of human-caused ocean warming that is destroying coral reefs worldwide. Dr. Kim Cobb of Brown University called the DOE's omission of ocean impacts a, quote, glaring failure, stressing that humanity is living through a period of unprecedented warmth. She warned that the biggest danger is the report being used as a foundation for future environmental policy. Scientists emphasize that unlike the DOE review, their rebuttal underwent a rigorous peer process. Quote, it's like a feather on one side versus 1,000 pounds of metal on the other, Cobb said. Meanwhile, Trump has continued dismantling climate protections in his second term, expanding oil and gas production, and rolling back over 200 environmental safeguards. The Trump administration is counting on you not to care about this. So, and I want to emphasize this, if climate is important to you, leave your thoughts in the comments below, share your stories, and let's make some noise. Okay, Ben? Back to you.
And by the way, there's almost no difference between Rob Schneider right now and Brendan Carr, the FCC chair who Trump appointed. Brendan Carr said, we're going to go back to the good old days where local televisions would be the one to decide what would be on TV. And I think we're moving in this direction. And this is not the first. This will not be the last shoe to drop. By the way, and what era is he even talking about? Where we always had the late night hosts since I've grown up, and even back in the Johnny Carson days, where late night hosts would make jokes about people in power until we have such a thin-skinned, frail ego loser of a president, a freaking loser who can't handle jokes. And by the way, what Kimmel was pointing out was actually nothing negative about Charlie Kirk. Again, even though he could have and should have a free speech right to do that if he so chooses. But what his joke was that Donald Trump claimed to be friends with Charlie Kirk. But when he was asked, how are you handling this? How are you grieving? Donald Trump said, I'm fine. Do you see the ballroom that I'm building? I'm building a massive ballroom. And this guy was supposed to be your friend. I thought Charlie Kirk was your friend and your son's friend and that you like this guy. Your response, I don't really care about that. Just let's look at the ballroom. And Jimmy Kimmel said, that's not how adults grieve loved ones. That's how 4-year-olds grieve their dead fish. Here, play this clip, though, of Brendan Carr.
We're going back to that era when local TV stations judging the public interest get to decide what the American people think. And again, we're constraining the power through those actions of Disney, of Comcast. I think the American public are going to be much better off. But yeah, I don't think this is the last shoe to drop. This is a massive shift that's taking place in the media ecosystem. I think the consequences are going to continue to flow.
More from Brendan Carr here on Fox, just outright platforming North Korea-style fascism. Let's play it.
I have to follow up. I understand the mechanism, and that is, as you're suggesting, it comes from the bottom up. It comes from local affiliates up to the broadcast networks as to what content fits the public interest. But what do you suspect when you say it's not the last shoe to drop? I mean, coming out and onto those local airwaves from broadcast sources is morning programming. It's the nightly news, where we saw something like we saw the other night from Matt Gutman at ABC. It is late night programming. So can you give us any insight? What are you talking about when you say not the last shoe to drop?
Look, we're going to continue to hold these broadcasters accountable to the public interest. And if broadcasters don't like that, simple solution, they can turn their license into the FCC. There's other things that we can do with it that would serve the national interest. And frankly, other people would want to use this spectrum, but we're going to continue to make clear that we're holding broadcasters accountable to the public interest. And again, I think that's going to be a really good thing for the country. Again, people can go on podcasts and go on cable shows like this. You don't have a license from the FCC. So there's a lot more they can do there. There's no public interest obligation on those outlets.
And by the way, you have Brendan Carr posting things like this. Brendan Carr, FCC, Jack Nicholson. I mean, that's what you're posting. When someone goes, this was all in Project 2025, by the way, you do Jack Nicholson memes of him laughing. And then you do memes of like the people in the office raising the roof about your fascist designs. Again, it's so utterly despicable. Oh, we then hear from MAGA Mike Johnson. He goes, I was a civil rights lawyer. I was a free speech lawyer. I don't think you were a good one, MAGA Mike Johnson. And he goes, they're a private company, so they can do what they want to do. Yes, they are a private company, although they trade on a public exchange. But okay, sure. The issue is not that, you idiot. The issue is that Donald Trump and the FCC said they're withholding licenses and they're using the government to overtly threaten the networks to fire Jimmy Kimmel. And we heard Donald Trump say it. Yes, I know Disney ABC is a private company. I understand Nexstar is a private company. And I understand Sinclair is, although they're a right-wing company. This is Nexstar a little bit. But the issue is the government making overt threats like the ones I just showed from Brendan Carr and what Trump has said out loud. But anyway, play MAGA Mike. Let's play it.
You're right. Charlie Kirk was all about free speech and going around the country and engaging. What do you say to Democrats or folks on the left who say that there is now this effort to go after free speech on the left? You have just last night ABC suspending Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely over his remarks after Charlie Kirk's death. Then you have Democrats saying that like Adam Schiff, Kimmel, Colbert, suits against the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, 60 Minutes. They're concerned what will be left of the First Amendment when the president is done. How do you respond to that?
Well, listen, my background is in the courts. I was a federal court litigator, literally defended free speech as a career for about 20 years, religious freedom and the freedom of speech and our fundamental rights. We have to jealously guard that, and I think we are. ABC is a private company. You've heard a lot of consternation about private companies firing or reprimanding employees for going online and glorifying the tragic death of a young father and young husband, and it's detestable. So in the private employer space, you have all the right in the world to have standards for your company, standards for your broadcast brand, and they get to make that decision. And I don't think that's a violation of the First Amendment. You don't have a First Amendment right to stay employed if you're going to engage in that kind of crazy action online. And in many cases, it really is inciting further violence. It's a serious problem.
And then Fox brings on Donald Trump, and they ask Donald Trump about, do you think that we should unite the country? And what do you think Donald Trump says? Well, it's Obama's fault. What a loser thing. It's Obama's fault? Again, Fox, Trump, all these losers go to, it's Obama's fault? Really, when it was Obama, that's when the division began. I don't know, maybe it's because people like you, Donald, couldn't handle a black president. Maybe that's why. Maybe y'all turned the temperature up and we heard about the gray suit and all of the horrific things you said about Michelle Obama. You know who said horrific things about Michelle Obama? That she didn't have the brain capacity to get into Harvard and to pursue the career she did. People like Charlie Kirk, who dropped out of college, saying that Michelle Obama didn't have the brain processing power, and that black women don't have the brain processing power, and that black people shouldn't be pilots, or we shouldn't trust black people as pilots, and that the civil rights movement was a mistake. Those are the types of comments that Charlie Kirk made. Some of the most misogynistic, anti-black, anti-gay, anti-trans, anti-civil rights comments, and he called for Biden's execution. Anyway, here's what Trump said. Let's play it.
Do you think it's the responsibility? Is it a role as president to bring people together? Is that part of the job?
Ideally. So I get this question so much. And when you see the kind of hatred out there, it's like unbelievable. And it's probably always been there. We just don't realize it. But I saw it starting with President Obama. I saw tremendous hatred. I saw levels that we've never seen before. And with Biden, it got far worse. Just far worse when you look at what happened. This last 4 years has been terrible. But, during my term, we had tremendous economic success. And just before COVID, I was getting calls from people that you wouldn't believe, people that you know very well, but people, I would call them the radical left or certainly the left, and more so than what we would think of as a traditional Democrat. And they wanted to get together.
There you have it, folks. Oh, should I show you this as well? The Fox poll as well. Are you doing better, worse, or the same than Biden? Has Trump made the economy better or worse? This is a Fox poll. 52% say worse right there. Oh, but Donald Trump was asked about it. Here's what he says. Let's play it.
We do see polling that doesn't poll well in the economy. The recent Fox polling said 52% say the economy is worse under this administration. You've got unemployment at the highest rate in 4 years. Groceries made a big jump in the last term. So how is that? You're looking forward with these plans that you just talked about. When will people feel that, Mr.
Well,
Trump?
when the factories start opening. I mean, right now we're building them. And, Fox polling, I have to tell you, I've told you before, it's the worst polling I've ever had. It's always, during the election, they had me winning by a little bit, not by a massive amount. And Fox polling, I've told Rupert Murdoch, go get yourself a new pollster because he stinks. And this is for years now.
Okay, Donald. Okay, Donald. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.